Hello everyone. In this video I will be talking about masks of identity and how to get rid of them. Masks of identity are all those elements that are defining of our personality, things that we have collected through our life experiences, through observation or learning, and that now define how we behave, the way we act, how we talk, how we interact with other people. These masks create certain definitions about ourselves. These are ideas, perspectives, perceptions of ourselves that we collect, and they can accumulate in a certain way that end up creating some hybrid at some point that we don't really know where it came from. So later in our life we have so many masks that we don't even know anymore what that thing that was created from all these experiences is. Some people say that this is how we learn. So this is a good thing to actually accumulate all these identities because this represents what you have gone through and makes you stronger and all this. But I beg to differ because I don't think that learning means assimilating our experience. I think that learning means observing the experience and not assimilating or not becoming the experience, but affirming our true identity. I have shared with you many times before the concept of the original persona. It's something that I had a very close relationship with because it explains my whole life story, and it's something that I learned from living that concept. So just to give you a little refresher, the original persona is that essential identity that exists before the creation of any personality. Before we come here, before we incarnate in this form, we already have a defined personality, a defined persona, let's call it, to differentiate it from the concept of personality. This persona is clearly defined. It doesn't need anything in order to do what it came here to do. It is fully prepared to live its purpose. It is fully ready to accomplish anything that is the mission that we came here to do. But what happens is that we forget this identity. We forget who we are when we come here. And that's the challenge that we have to overcome. It's not that we come here to assimilate everything that happens to us. That's easy. That's not the answer. The answer is how to, despite not being able to remember who I am consciously, how can I still recognize this identity, this original persona, and not let all of my experiences change that? That's true learning. True learning is being so aware of yourself that nothing that happens outside of you could change that. That's when you learn. You don't learn when you assimilate the experience, because then you remain in the experience and you're captured in that bubble for the time being until you finally say, okay, no, I'm not this anymore. I keep going, I let this go, and then that's when you actually learn. You learn when you disconnect from the experience, not when you become the experience. So that's the difference between original persona and personality. Masks are identities that we create, identities that we need to release in order for us to experience the true self, the original persona. In my case, I had that's how it happened to me. I had an intense experience of awareness that allowed me to restructure my perception, my identity. It was something that was so intense that when it happened, it lasted a few minutes, and after that I didn't even know where I was, who I was, what I was doing. I had to question everything I was at that moment. And at the same time, I decided to let it go because it didn't feel like me, because I had experienced me for a few minutes. I had an experience of self-awareness that was so intense that I knew within me who I was or who I am. And then all those other masks no longer could exist because they didn't feel real. They felt imposed. And this continued to happen during several months, every day, while I was writing the first book of Soul Restructuring. And during the first weeks, it was all about explaining to myself what was happening. I have been able to restructure myself, not only psychologically, but also physically, because remember, our cells are containers of energy, and in order to receive high consciousness information, we have to be the perfect container for receiving the information. Comes in the form of energy, and if your cells are not ready, your atoms are not ready to receive this information, you won't be able to. You simply can't connect. So this is a process of becoming consciousness. You receive the messages, you start becoming connected, and with so much connection you end up activating this consciousness within you. We already have consciousness within us. We don't need to add anything. We just need to activate it because we have chosen to believe that we are something else. And when we do that, we are resonating at that particular frequency and identity until we choose to come back to ourselves, is that we start resonating in our higher frequency, because that's what we're meant to be. That's the original persona, the original idea of creation, why we're here, our purpose. All these things make sense at that point, because then you realize who you are. So keep in mind, these masks that we are carrying are temporary, they fade, and the best tool that you have to release them is an intense state of inner awareness that is called the state of awareness, that allows you to restructure this perception of yourself. And every pattern, as I've shared before, has three elements. One is intensity, then frequency, and time. So you either experience awareness in a very intense way, which was the experience that I had, or you practice daily, frequently, over a period of time to make sure that you start developing this pattern. And this is where meditation comes in. Meditation is successful if you experience awareness. You can be sitting and looking at a wall the entire time and nothing happens. That's not meditation. That's just you're sitting in front of the wall. So if you reach the state of awareness, then that's effective meditation. And that's why I have shared in my book, The Power of the Elevation of Consciousness, so Restructuring, I share with you 19 different ways in which you can reach awareness, which is the goal of meditation. I assume that one of these 19 ways have to resonate with you. And the more you do it, the more you create the patterns of awareness, back to yourself, back to your origins. Well, very good. So I leave you with this practice. Practice the 19 exercises of the book, The Power of the Elevation of Consciousness. Start with recognizing yourself, familiarization with that feeling, and embodiment of consciousness. Follow the exercises, practice them. The more intense practice that you have, the more chances you have of restructuring your identity back to your true self. And if you don't have the opportunity to have such an intense experience because any reason, practice daily, every time you can, because frequency also creates patterns. Very good, guys. So see you soon. And to get this book, don't forget to go to my website, healersofthelight.com, or you can find it in Amazon or any other retailer like Barnes & Nobles or such. Very good, guys. See you soon. Bye-bye.